Welcome to part 3 of the final review of the Little Women movies, and this is the comparison. The soundtrack is pretty much the same on both films, except in the 1933 version, it's a little bit more softer, whereas in the 49, it's more rushed. And it even has like some of the same dialogue scenes. It's just more portrayed more blandly. I do have to say that the scenes between Beth and Mr. Lawrence made a whole lot of sense. When I seen the 49 version, after Beth got sick, and the whole party's there for Christmas and whatever, Mr. Lawrence gives her a piano and says, "I should have given it to you long ago," and then they pretty much embrace in a hug. And I thought, what is with the deal with these two characters? They haven't even done anything remotely close with each other or anything to show us that they had a relationship. Whereas in the 1933 and the 1949 version, you see clearly that there is a relationship between Beth and Mr. Lawrence, which is very sweet. And I loved both the movie's versions of Mr. Lawrence's character and Beth's character. They were just so good together, and it was just such a sweet, and he was like a father figure to her, and she kind of got used to him, and it was just all around very sweet. And it's also very nice to know that the character of Mr. Lawrence in both of these versions were very worried about Beth when she had gotten sick. So I found that to be really sweet. Let's see. Both the directors of these films did part of The Wizard of Oz. I forgot to mention the good director of the 49 version. The director was, oh jeez. Mervyn LeRoy. So Mervyn LeRoy and George Cukor had somewhat a part with The Wizard of Oz, and I thought that was really cool. And considering that Wizard of Oz is my pretty much my favorite all-time old Hollywood movie, it's kind of cool that two of these directors from Little Women had a part in my favorite movie. I do have to say that even though I've praised the 33 version and actually kind of complained about the 49 version, I do have to say that I actually do love the 49 version, and I happen to watch that version way more than the 33 version. So even though I've done some complaining about that version, it is not a bad version, and I do love it, despite its flaws. It's very good, and it's no way a really horrible film, and it is a really good film in my opinion. I also have to say, it could have been because of how young I was or whatever, but it was hard to follow the 1994 version, but with these movies it was easy. And I've already mentioned one thing about the 49 version that confused me, the Beth and Mr. Lawrence character. However, the one thing I also didn't understand is why Joe didn't want Meg to marry. And it didn't seem that clear to me why, but in these versions it is. Joe didn't want anything to change. It's like she wanted them to be kids again. Their father was back from the war, and she's like, okay, well, we can all be together again, and just us. But with Meg getting married, Joe knew that the family would soon split up into their own separate ways. And that was very hard for Joe, I guess. Okay, with both these scenes, I do have to say that I feel very bittersweet at the end of both these films, because I always think, oh, Beth isn't there. And it's really quite sad, because you do fall in love with the character of Beth in both of these versions. And again, I don't really have any harsh problems with the 1994 version. That was the one with Winona Ryder, by the way. That version was the first Little Women I had ever gotten. So I'm not really complaining about it. It's just that I've gotten used to the older films, and I do love these ones more than the 94 version. So my opinion with these films is watch them in order. Watch the 1933 version first, then watch the 49 version, and you'll see what I'm talking about. There is a huge difference in the acting and the dialogue. Like I said, it's just a tad bland and watered down in the 49 version compared to the 33 version. But it is not a horrible film. I do love this film. And I even thought that the other characters were good. I liked Mr. Lawrence in both of these films. I thought that Aunt March was amusing in at least the 49 version. Whereas in the 1933, she was kind of nice, but she was also harsh. But I did love her relationship with Amy as well. And what's interesting was, you know, like the 49 version, of course, the actors would end up playing in other similar roles together later. Like Peter Lawford and June Allyson would play in another film. I can't remember it. And let's see. Elizabeth Taylor and Margaret O'Brien did do a movie together prior to this called Jane Eyre, but they never really had any screen time together. So I found that to be interesting. Like some of the actors would end up playing with each other again, either before or after these films. But at any rate, that's pretty much it for this comparison and my part 3 and reviews on these films. Like I said, if you want to watch these movies, go right ahead, but try and do them in order. And then you'll get a clear order, whatever. And I do have to say, I have read somewhat of the book. I haven't finished it yet, but from what I've read, it's somewhat close to the book, but not by much. But it's still not a bad... These versions are really good in my opinion, and they're not horrible versions. But yeah, so that's about it for this comparison review. I hope you've enjoyed my 3-part movie review on these Little Women movies. Leave comments below what you thought of these films if you've seen them, and what your thoughts on them. And please do not be harsh, because I know that I kind of complained more about the 49 version. But like I've said again, I do love the 49 version. I don't hate it. So I just wanted to make that clear. Okay, so that's it for this review. Bye! Have a great, wonderful day.